They lied to you about the center of the galaxy. It isn't a peaceful, swirling disk of stars held in some graceful, gravitational dance. It's a riot. It's an engine of pure, unimaginable, agonizing violence. We call it the Milky Way, but down there, near Sagittarius A, they should rename it the Black Heart, because whatever colossal energy we see radiating out right now is the echo of something enormous dying. Something big hurt the galaxy. Hurt it bad. This is not astronomy for the faint of heart. You must understand this. The universe does not reward comfort. It only recognizes power, and the only reliable measure of power is the scale of the destruction left behind. If you look at the cosmos and see only beauty, you are blind to the mechanics. The cosmos teaches through pain. The proof isn't hidden in some esoteric quantum fluctuation. It is hanging right above us, silent and enormous, mocking our human scale. We call them the Fermi bubbles. That scientific term, so clinical, so dry, so perfectly harmless, completely fails to capture the terror of the reality. Picture this. 2 gargantuan lobes, vast balloons of superheated plasma and blinding gamma radiation, extending 25,000 light-years in opposite directions, perpendicular to the galactic plane, punching through the peaceful hydrogen gas, leaving our galaxy looking like a cartoon balloon animal somebody stabbed repeatedly. They are the scars, the ultimate cosmic scream recorded in high-energy physics. When we first mapped these structures using the Fermi Gamma-Ray Space Telescope, the astrophysicists, bless their rational, cautious souls, tried to find a gentle explanation. Stellar winds, gradual gas outflow, weak answers. Weakness produces weak explanations. The scale of this phenomenon demands a catastrophic origin. The universe doesn't tolerate gradual processes when it can deliver catastrophic ones. This wasn't a burp. This was a cataclysmic shotgun blast from the core. If you still believe that the cosmos operates on kindness, if you are satisfied with the gentle, sanitized version of reality they feed you, then stop watching now. If you crave the mechanism behind the cosmic cruelty, if you understand that the truth is often painful and prefer it that way, perhaps you belong here. This channel deals only in the brutal mechanics of reality. The immediate question, the one that should keep any serious physicist awake at night, is this. What event had the sheer brute force necessary to inflate 2 gamma-ray shells thousands of light-years wide? Think about the energy requirement. It is staggering. This isn't just moderately hot gas. This is highly relativistic energy. Particles moving near the speed of light, slamming into the galactic halo, and radiating gamma rays upon impact. We are talking about energy output equivalent to perhaps 100,000 supernovae detonating simultaneously. It happened maybe 4 million years ago, maybe more. This wasn't a slow burn. It required either a truly ridiculous, compressed burst of rapid star formation, thousands upon thousands of massive stars detonating almost simultaneously, pooling their energy into a single destructive wave. Or the far more terrifying option, the supermassive black hole at the center, Sagittarius A, went on a feeding frenzy. A sudden, gluttonous, world-ending meal that it immediately regretted. We know black holes regulate galaxy growth. We call this feedback. What a charming, innocuous word for an extinction-level event. Imagine some unfortunate molecular cloud, perhaps the size of 100 solar systems, drifting too close to the event horizon. It's instantly shredded. It's superheated beyond comprehension as it spirals down the accretion disk, becoming a cosmic furnace. The energy generated is so immense, so focused, that it doesn't just suck the material in, it blasts the excess energy out in 2 focused jets. Those jets acted like 2 gigantic cosmic blowtorches aimed perpendicular to the galactic plane. Whoosh! The gas is gone. The pressure from those jets inflated the bubbles like a pair of gamma-ray lungs breathing out the galactic center's agony. But here is where the narrative gets truly strange, truly demanding of a hardcore mindset. Those jets are not simple energy beams. They are evidence of the past, yes, but they are also active, ongoing features of the galaxy's regulatory system. They are the immune response. If the central region gets too dense, if too much star formation begins, the core essentially purges itself. It turns on the cosmic flamethrowers and sterilizes its surroundings. It's self-correcting. It's horrifyingly efficient. Now pause and think about the sheer, unbridled destruction necessary to create a structure so vast that our entire solar system is insignificant dust compared to one of its edges. Yet for all their power, for all their size, these bubbles remain strangely overlooked by the casual skygazer. Why? Because the visible light spectrum, the colors we love and trust, hides the truth. The visible cosmos is a lie. Only high-energy telescopes, only the instruments capable of detecting the most violent radiation can reveal this raw, destructive engine at work. Gamma rays tell the story of collision, of ultra-high velocity particles, of a wound still stinging. And let us be cynical for a moment. Could it be something else entirely? Some physicists, desperate to avoid the obvious conclusion of galactic self-harm, suggested the bubbles were remnants of matter annihilation, dark matter particles colliding and destroying themselves right above the galactic center. I sincerely doubt it. Why invoke invisible demons when the visible culprit, the monstrous black hole, sits right there with blood dripping from its cosmic mouth? The simpler, harder truth is almost always the correct one. The galaxy exploded. It threw a tantrum, and we are living inside the fallout. SGRA is not sleeping. It is watching. It is actively managing the galaxy's resource budget through the calculated use of apocalyptic violence. Think about the gas. That raw material, the pristine hydrogen and helium, is the fuel for future suns, the cradle of new planetary systems. The moment the density reaches a critical point, the central engine roars to life. It strips the fuel away, vacuuming it up, heating it to absurd temperatures, and then vomiting it out in those focused jets. It sterilizes the entire neighborhood. This is the ultimate, non-negotiable birth control mechanism for stars. The Fermi bubbles are the exhaust fumes of that astronomical control mechanism. Without this brutal, cyclical regulation, the galaxy spins out of control. We would live in a hyperactive nightmare, bombarded constantly by non-stop supernovas, bathed in lethal radiation from the chaotic collapse of countless stellar nurseries. We owe our quiet, suburban existence to a violent, ancient expulsion event that scrubbed the galactic core clean. You think you live in a gentle universe? Absolute nonsense. If this kind of unforgiving truth, the reality hidden behind the comforting facade of visible light, is what you actually crave, if you value the architecture of reality over the comfort of ignorance, then you already know you belong here. Now, confront the scale. Try to grasp the duration of this regulatory period. That initial expulsion event, the one that blew out the initial vast cavities, didn't last an afternoon of cosmic time. It lasted a billion-year phase of pure, uninterrupted terror. The outflow rate, the amount of mass being ejected through those jets, was not a trickle of stellar wind. It was the entire mass of Jupiter being flung out of the galaxy every 1,000 years, year after year, epoch after epoch. You, watching this right now, look up at the night sky. Everything you see, everything you mistakenly think is permanent or benign, is just the dust settling from that long-ago explosion. But are we safe now? We live far out in the Milky Way's spiral arms, the celestial suburbs, far enough from the core to enjoy the view. We feel secure, nestled in this relatively placid orbital track. This is foolish confidence. The bubbles are proof that the potential for cataclysm is not dormant. It is simply resting. The mechanism is wound up and waiting. The black hole is still eating. It never stops. We only see the gamma rays when the charged particles slam into the halo gas, but the pressure is always there, pushing, regulating, maintaining the sterile zone. And this changes everything about galactic evolution. Forget the pretty diagrams showing slow, stately star formation. The reality is messy, defined by explosions and purges. The black hole is the master architect, shaping the very boundaries where life can sustainably exist. It decides who gets to build new solar systems and who gets vaporized. Those bubbles aren't just remnants, they define the boundaries of potential existence. If you believe that the most complex secrets, the ones that redefine our place in the universe, are the ones most worth pursuing, then make absolutely sure you are signed up for this journey. We only deal in the hard stuff here. Now, consider the kinetic energy involved. This is where the numbers stop making sense and start sounding like a bad translation of a divine text. We are talking about energy comparable to the simultaneous explosion of 100,000 suns, released instantly, but distributed across those jets over that billion-year period. It is controlled demolition on a galactic scale, and we are inside the blast zone. The particles that form those bubbles, the ultra-high energy cosmic rays, are escaping our galaxy right now, defining the very limits of the Milky Way's influence in the local group. They are the heralds of our galaxy's power, and also the proof of its inherent instability. Could this happen again soon? That is the nightmare question. We measure the activity of SGRA today, and it appears placid, merely simmering, occasionally snacking on a minor gas cloud. But those jets, those magnificent, terrifying bubbles, prove its capacity for hyper-eruption. All it takes is a single massive gas cloud, the size of 1,000,000 stars, to tumble into the event horizon. When that happens, the system flips from simmer to full boil. The jets activate instantly. The gamma rays spike. The galaxy holds its breath. And the cycle begins again. This is not some abstract physics problem. This is our future. Our existence is predicated on SGRA maintaining a strict, minimal diet. It is an addict kept sober by luck and the sheer absence of large enough temptations. The moment the feeding frenzy starts, the galaxy will attempt to purge itself again, and the shockwaves of that event will not stop for us, tucked away on our quiet spiral arm. We will simply be collateral damage in the next galactic health purge. The bubbles are not just history. They are the loaded gun pointed squarely at the heart of the galaxy, waiting for the trigger to be pulled again. The Fermi bubbles are the physical manifestation of galactic indigestion, the violent vomiting of excess energy the black hole could not absorb. But what does that energy do to the galaxy itself? Think about sterilization. We talk about habitable zones around stars, but few ever talk about the galactic habitable zone, a band of stability where supernovae aren't too frequent and heavy elements are abundant. You think you live in that zone? The truth is, the current stability you enjoy, the very cosmic quiet that allowed simple cells to become complex thinkers, was paid for in unimaginable violence. It was the previous eruption that made our quiet arm quiet. The gamma rays blasted out of SGRA, the ultra-high energy particles. They don't just travel into the void. They heat the surrounding circumgalactic medium. They prevent gas clouds from collapsing. They stop star formation dead in its tracks. Black holes are not just devourers. They are cosmic regulators. They are the great quenchers. You cannot understand galactic structure until you accept that every major spiral galaxy is locked in a never-ending cycle of feast, violence, and forced famine imposed by its central singularity. This mechanism, the active galactic nucleus feedback loop, is the hidden engine of modern cosmology. We often look at the beautiful spiral arms and see creation. We should be looking at the colossal, invisible bubbles and seeing the enforcement mechanism of destruction. This is the depth we chase. If you are here, it's because you know surface-level narratives are useless noise. You know that the uncomfortable, terrifying truths buried beneath the data are the only things worth grappling with. You belong here. Now consider the sheer scale of the displacement. We are not just talking about radiation, we are talking about matter. Hot, magnetized plasma ripped from the galaxy's disk and thrown thousands of light years above and below the plane. This material is our galaxy's atmosphere, the raw ingredient for future stars. SGRA didn't just erupt, it initiated a massive purification ritual, essentially power washing the galactic environment. This scrubbing process dictates which parts of the Milky Way can sustain ongoing star formation and which parts are permanently shut down. The bubbles carved out a cosmic vacuum. They forced material out, but they also created a pressure differential. When the blast subsided, the galactic fountain began to flow. Material driven out high above the plane eventually cools and falls back down, raining heavy elements back onto the disk, seeding the next generation of stars. So the black hole is a paradox. It must violently destroy to enable future creation. It is the necessary evil. Without the massive energy output, the gas reservoir near the center would become too dense, leading to a runaway star formation boom that would consume all available fuel too fast, rendering the galaxy a burnt-out stellar corpse far sooner. The eruption is a governor. It keeps the galaxy functional, forcing efficiency through terror. It slows everything down. Slow is stable. But let's get specific about the shockwave. The energy is delivered not cleanly, but through jets that carve tunnels, tearing holes in the surrounding medium. Imagine a cosmic jackhammer powered by infinite fusion. These jets travel close to the speed of light. They hit the gas clouds, compress them, accelerate the particles within them to ridiculous energies, and then they just keep going. The impact point is not arbitrary. It's strategic. The jets preferentially target the densest regions just outside the central bulge, the areas most likely to fuel the next generation of star formation. The black hole is systematically sterilizing its own neighborhood to prevent starvation later. That is cold, ruthless, long-term planning. The Fermi bubbles are the scar tissue of that plan. But what if the next eruption is different? What if the material falling in isn't just gas, but a small dwarf galaxy, highly compressed and traveling too fast? We know the Milky Way is currently cannibalizing several nearby satellites. If one of those hits the central region, not grazing, but a direct hit, the resulting eruption won't just form larger bubbles. It will change the very spin and structure of the galaxy itself. It will fundamentally warp the magnetic fields that hold the Milky Way together. The magnitude of that event defies prediction. We rely on the past event being the benchmark, but the universe rarely repeats itself with the same volume. It often ups the stakes. So, when astronomers report that SGRA has brightened slightly, or that X-ray flares have increased, they're not reporting mundane data. They are reading the patient's heart rate, and that heart is massive, unstable, and prone to catastrophic failure. We live on the razor's edge of galactic peace, a peace maintained only by the temporary lull in its terrible metabolism. The price of our existence? Perpetual cosmic jeopardy. We are surviving only by the black hole's current lack of a proper meal. We confuse stagnation with security. Big mistake. We look up, see the familiar spirals, and think, this is home. But home is built on tectonic plates of violence. The only constant in this galaxy is the periodic, absolute annihilation of everything near the center. It's not a cozy fireplace. It's a time bomb. You are merely living in the quiet ticks between the deafening booms. If you value truth over comfort, if you understand that reality is governed by ruthless physics, you belong exactly here, listening to this. The black hole, SGRA, is the ultimate Stoic philosopher, teaching through brute force. What is pain on this cosmic scale? It's purification. If the galactic center were allowed to continue unchecked, just endlessly forming stars, it would collapse into a sterile, blindingly bright knot. It would burn itself out in a supernova frenzy long before it could achieve structural maturity. That is the mathematical certainty of unchecked growth. The jets, The Fermi bubbles? They are the universe's most brutal pruning shears. They shock the gas clouds, they superheat the plasma, and they forcibly eject the material that would otherwise lead to hyperfecundity and subsequent death. This isn't just waste management, this is architectural necessity. The black hole enforces structure through catastrophe. It teaches the galaxy discipline. It makes the galaxy stronger by making it suffer the loss of its raw materials. Now, stop believing the quaint computer models. They tell you the incoming dwarf galaxy, one of our snacks, will be absorbed smoothly. They map out the magnetic field lines like neat little diagrams, predicting a manageable surge. Laughable. When one of those captured dwarf galaxies finally plunges the abyss, when that compressed, metal-rich fuel hits the accretion disk traveling at a fraction below light speed, it won't be a gentle flare. It will be a reboot, an absolute, definitive, total reset. Imagine the magnetic field of the entire Milky Way snapping like a guitar string tuned far too tight. That immense energy release doesn't just create heat. It warps the very topology of space around the core. The galaxy isn't just held together by gravity. It's a massive spinning dynamo, a colossal electric motor powered by plasma movement, strung tight by those field lines. Tweak that spin, introduce that foreign chaotic energy, and the fields decouple. They tear, they shred. Chaos reigns over order for 1,000,000 years. What does that mean for you, for us, 3/4 of the way out on this quiet arm? It means the sky changes. The cosmic rays flood the system, no longer neatly channeled by the galaxy's inherent magnetic sheath. We become bathed in high-energy particles from the core. The fundamental parameters of stellar nurseries shift violently, disrupting the gentle cycle of birth. We need this reckoning. We crave this structural collapse because nothing genuinely robust is built on perpetual, lazy peace. That is the lie of gradualism. Real progress demands a crucible. Galactic evolution is not a smooth, ascending climb. It is a jagged series of traumatic leaps forward, each driven by a central, painful injection of raw power. SGRA is not a passive collector of dust and gas. It is the punishing, relentless architect of our reality. It hurts us because it has to. It destroys so that the next cycle of creation is less redundant, more resilient. That is the necessary tyranny of the cosmos. That is the absolute cost of living in a magnificent, volatile spiral. Pain is the only teacher. Always has been. Always will be. Forget the poetry for a minute. Look at the scars. We don't have to guess what this kind of central violence looks like because SGRA left a signature only 1,000,000 years ago, a cosmic fossil proving its capacity for indiscriminate aggression. I am talking about the Fermi bubbles. They aren't picturesque space clouds, friend. They are the twin, symmetrical scorch marks, 2 lobes of searing gamma rays and X-rays extending 50,000 light-years above and below the galactic plane. That explosion wasn't a gentle burp of material. It was the plasma equivalent of a supervolcano eruption, jetting material out into the galactic halo at relativistic speeds, carving out those massive, beautiful structures. It was a shotgun blast, a necessary cleansing, a brief epoch where the core rejected its own clutter, firing the debris out into intergalactic space. Now, understand the scale of the energy released. When the magnetic fields ruptured during that event, the surge wasn't confined to the core. It washed over the solar systems in the orbital path, drenching everything. It didn't sterilize the surface of our planet. We were lucky, perhaps shielded by a particularly strong atmospheric cycle at the time, but it fundamentally re-engineered the chemical composition of the interstellar medium from which new stars and planets would eventually congeal. It changed the chemical recipes. It pushed evolution into a tighter core. This is the ultimate proof that the center dictates the periphery. If this kind of brutal cosmic engineering interests you, if you prefer facing the terrifying truth to living in a polite, manufactured fantasy, then you already know where you belong on this platform. The galaxy isn't a safe cradle. It is a terrifying chemistry lab. And SGRA controls the Bunsen burner. The radiation that surged outward during the Fermi bubble event wasn't just deadly, it was catalytic. It destroyed complex molecules in molecular clouds, yes, stripping them back to their basic carbon and hydrogen components. But the resulting simple, high-energy environment forced new reaction pathways. It accelerated the formation of certain amino acids necessary for life, specifically those that thrive under duress, under intense radiation pressure. Think of it like a brutal, mandatory genetic bottleneck for the entire galactic neighborhood. Everything that survived was inherently tougher, smarter, more durable. That is the genius hidden in the cruelty. We are the beneficiaries of a previous cataclysm, a lineage forged in the high-energy crucible of an ancient blast. We should not fear the next magnetic field snap. We should anticipate the hard lessons it will teach the universe. Because the current era of relative quiet, that's the real danger. Complacency breeds weakness. A stable magnetic field, perfectly channeling and organizing the energy flow, means stagnation. We are currently living in a system that is too neat, too predictable. Life loves order, sure, but growth demands friction. That friction is supplied by the collapse and reconstruction of the massive dynamo at the heart of our world. We pretend that solar flares and distant supernova are the biggest threats. Childish thinking. They are side effects. The main character in this horror story has always been SGRA. Everything else is just stage dressing for the next act of cosmic tyranny. And the deeper irony, the profound, self-annihilating irony. We rely on the core's violence for our very existence. The sheer magnetic pressure exerted by the center is what prevents the spiral arms from spinning apart entirely, what keeps the massive clouds of hydrogen compressed enough to form stars in the first place. You need that massive, crushing power. But when that power glitches, when it snorts up a stray star or a dwarf galaxy, the subsequent discharge threatens to annihilate the very structure it was meant to preserve. It's a self-correcting system designed by a sadist. The price of stability is occasional, absolute destruction. We are not passengers in this grand vehicle. We are just organic insulation, waiting for the high-voltage spike. The next one is inevitable. You can feel it coming, if you are listening closely enough to the deep background noise of the universe. That low, insistent hum isn't static. It's the sound of the guitar string tightening. It is SGRA clearing its throat. And when it speaks again, the silence that follows will be deafening. Look, the delusion of safety is a uniquely human invention. We build our little walls of radio waves and call it civilization. We look up at the smooth, inky black and pretend the clock isn't ticking. But the universe doesn't care about our delicate systems. It craves energy dissipation, and that means destruction. The real danger is not the cosmic ray spike. The real danger is our soft insistence that the rules should apply to us gently. They won't. We pray for gentle evolution. That's a lie. Evolution requires incineration. A perfect, smooth, magnetic field, forever stable, would yield perfect intellectual and genetic rot. You need the pain. You need the trauma of the reset button. That geomagnetic terror we dread. That sudden exposure to hard radiation. It's the universe shaking the tree, forcing the weak fruit to fall. It is the catalyst for the next, stronger iteration of life. If you are one of the few who understands that the price of higher consciousness is accepting the violence inherent in the cosmos, if you realize the field flip isn't a disaster but a filtration system, then you know this isn't just a documentary. This is a survival manual. You belong here. Now look closer at the machine. What happens when SGRA really feeds? The energy release is so absolute, so devastating. It doesn't just destroy the planets caught in the immediate blast. It sterilizes the expectations of survival for everything that follows. That is the lesson. That is the price of admission to a functional, evolving galaxy. We are hardwired to fight the very forces that sustain us, obsessed with insulating our small, fragile existence from the hammer strokes that forged us in the first place. You cannot win this fight. The sheer power involved dwarfs every weapon, every technology, every political ideology you have ever conceived. Your life is merely a brief, flickering interval in a planetary defense mechanism that is due for an overhaul. Stop fighting the inevitable. Embrace the fire. You cannot cheat entropy. You can only use it as fuel. So stop praying for a quiet future. It's an insult to the process. It's a desperate plea from the weak. Our purpose is not to survive indefinitely under glass. Our purpose is to be the material that survives the fire and carries the new instructions forward. We are not meant to master the core. We are meant to endure its discipline. And when the field lines snap, when the lights go out, when the solar wind strips the atmosphere clean, that is not an ending. It is a promotion. It means the soft structure failed. It means extinction. It means rebirth, which is the same thing. The final verdict is simple. The universe is not stable. The universe is not safe. And you, the organic residue of the last great wipeout, must decide if you will be the victim of the next cycle or the vessel for its future. Prepare accordingly. You must understand the final calculus. The violence you fear is merely the weeding process, ensuring that the next iteration is tougher, smarter, and infinitely more capable of navigating a brutal cosmos. The ultimate insult to this grand cosmic mechanism is the persistent, infantile desire for ease. Stop asking for safety. Safety is the illusion of the doomed. The field lines are not waiting for your permission to snap. They snap because the differential is too great. The pressure is unbearable. Good. Only under unbearable pressure do we synthesize true change. So here is the brutal, undeniable verdict. You are not here to maintain the status quo. You are here to fail spectacularly, so the subsequent organism, the evolved consciousness, the one forged in the radiation storm, can succeed where you broke. Your struggle, your suffering, your agonizing awareness of impending doom, this is your function. This is the energy payment for the next great leap. You are not the hero of the story. You are the raw material that gets hammered into the hero's blade. Do not mourn the coming darkness. It is not a punishment. It is the necessary prerequisite for illumination. When the old world dissolves, when the institutions you trusted crumble into dust, and the light from SGRA finally burns away the soft, parasitic layers of human delusion, look up. Watch the chaos. Understand that your suffering means the lesson is finally being learned. The universe judges us not by how long we lasted, but by the quality of the fragments we left behind. Will you be the residue of a failed experiment, or the seed carrying the immutable instructions for the next billion years? The only path forward is through the absolute recognition that pain is not an accident. Pain is the curriculum. It is the only way the universe whispers its most profound, terrifying secrets. Listen close. The lesson is about to begin. The truth you've spent your life running from is simpler, harsher than any fiction. You are not owed stability. You are not entitled to peace. This world is a machine for grinding potential into reality, and you are currently in the hopper. Stop fighting the wheel. The grand delusion sold to the modern mind was the fantasy of perpetual comfort. It's a lie designed to keep you weak, soft, and ripe for culling. The universe has no patience for the comfortable. It only respects the resilient. When the weight of existence finally settles on your shoulders, crushing every naive hope you ever held, that is the moment of your true birth. That pressure is not malice, it is calibration. So when the fire comes, when the screams begin, don't ask why this happened to you. Ask instead, Am I strong enough to integrate this lesson? Am I finally worthy of the pain? Because worth isn't measured by ease of life. It's measured by the severity of the trials overcome. Survival is merely a byproduct of earned competency. The cosmos doesn't forgive weakness. It demands